Yes?
Your turn.
Oh, I'm
You're up.
do a song that, must have been 7 or 8 years ago. Jan invited us, Frank Warner and myself, down to a book signing by a fellow named Jim Longy,
Oh my gosh.
who wrote a great book about his life with Woody Guthrie and Cisco Houston in the Merchant Marine, called Woody, Cisco and Me. And Jan called Frank and called myself and said, would you guys come to the signing? So we have some music to help Mr. Longy out. So we were there, and it was a great honor that Jim Longy asked us to please sing along with him on Woody Guthrie, well-known Woody Guthrie song called The Sinking of Reuben James. And he said, you know, my two buddies aren't around anymore, so would you give me a hand? But he told a great story about the song, and it's right from the book. And he talked about shipping out with Woody Guthrie and Cisco Houston, and they were now by this time experienced merchant sailors, and they're going out on a troop ship. So they made sure that they got down to the pier in west side of New York early, so that they would get dibs on good bunk, preferably one above the waterline. So they did so, and the ship sailed out, and wasn't too far out in the Atlantic past Coney Island and Sandy Hook when the convoy came under attack. Now, the convoys are set up in big rectangles, and if you're in the very back on the outside, that's known as a coffin corner. That's where punters put footballs in American football games. If they kick one out on the 1 yard line, that's the derivation of it, is that if you're in that corner, that rectangle, it's not a good place. Well, the ship was under attack, and Woody Guthrie and Jim Longy and Cisco Houston sat silently on their bunks until Woody Guthrie picked up his mandolin, his fiddle, put him over his back, picked up his guitar, and Jim Longy said, where in the world are you going? He said, well, there are about 700 fellas down below in 3, 4 different holes. I thought they could use a little music. Jim Longy was livid. His greatest fear was not sinking, but capsizing, and he was absolutely, it was just terrified him, and he knew the math, so he knew how much that ship could pitch and yaw. Down went Woody Guthrie, and there was silence, and a couple of minutes later, Cisco Houston picked up his guitar and left the room, leaving Jim Longy now to be shamed into going below. And Jim Longy got into that first hole, a few hundred soldiers down there praying and crying, sick to their stomachs, as depth charges were being dropped. And there was this terrible reverberation throughout this big tin can of a troop ship. And Jim Longy walks in to hear Woody Guthrie. He said, well, fellas, I'm here with my two buddies. We're known as the Seaman 3. We'd like to give you a little entertainment, and we'd like to start off with a song called The Sinking of the Good Ship Reuben James. F. And that's the effect it had on the troops. It loosened everybody up. He did it. He repeated the program twice, and when he found out that there were some black soldiers who were not being included in the performances, he said he would sing no more unless those guys were part of what was going on. So this is the Reuben James. Have you heard of a ship called the Good Reuben James, armed by hard fighting and bold of honor and of fame? She flew the stars and stripes of the land of the free, but tonight she's in her grave at the bottom of the sea.